Welcome back, viewers, for another instalment of NFL Web TV. I'm your host, Samuel Zito, joined again by Liam Quinn. Of course, we're here to preview Division 1. It's round 9 this week, Liam, and the week off last week. You refreshed, recharged your batteries and ready to go again.
Yeah, had a nice long weekend, so it's good to have a break on Saturday. There should be some great footy this week.
Well, there's 4 really good games coming up this week. Of course, first up we have Heidelberg and North Heidelberg, which is probably the only clear-cut game you'd imagine this week, but we have seen a few upsets, and we saw on the weekend in Division 2 that Layla was defeated for the first time, so perhaps the Doggies will say that there's still a chance against the Tigers, but that's the first game we'll preview, and you look at the ladder at the moment, and the Doggies are 3 games on the bottom of the ladder, languishing without a win, and the Tigers had a pretty good win before the break against Eltham, and they'll be looking for their first consecutive wins for the year, and I'm pretty sure they'll get it at Shelley Street Reserve on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't really see much chance in North Heidelberg. Unfortunately, they'll have some confidence they could get the win, but Heidelberg should just be too strong, you'd think.
Well, you look at it, I think, on the weekend going probably 2 weeks ago now, it was 111 points against West Preston they went down by. West Preston, while they beat Heidelberg comfortably, it wasn't to that extent at all, and I think if you just look at their current form, it's really hard to tip for them. I'm sure eventually in the year they'll get a win, but I don't think on Saturday, with so much to play for Heidelberg, I don't think North Heidelberg can beat them at all.
Yeah, you'd think not. It should be pretty tough for the Bulldogs this week.
Well, there's some other pretty good games going on, and there's one that I'm really looking forward to. It's at Ulam Reserve. It's Bundoora up against Northcote Park. Of course, both sides went down in their round 8 games. Bundoora losing their first game of the year to Greensborough. Northcote Park losing their second game to a team outside the top 5, and it was too Whittlesea. They were at home, and in the 2 weeks on prior to that, they'd had some good wins against Heidelberg and Greensborough, probably 2 of their best wins for quite some time, but they were disappointing against a side they were probably expected to beat, especially at home, and I don't know if they can bounce back in the weekend. It's probably a game, as I said, can go either way, but I think Bundoora at home only lost by 2 points against Greensborough. They led all day, and they were pretty good in the loss. They're pretty hard to go against the Bulls.
Yeah, unfortunately for Northcote, I think Bundoora should be able to get the win in this one, but it's just worrying for Northcote. As good as they have started the season in some parts, if they lose this, I think they're 5-4 off the top of my head. So for all their good form, they haven't really got much to show for it. So a big game for Northcote, but I think Bundoora should be too strong.
Well, it's a good point you make, because if they do lose, they do go 5-4, and you'd expect Heidelberg to win. So they would be on equal points with the Tigers, and I mean, for all the good early season form, we've said the Tigers have struggled, but they'll be the same points as Northcote Park should they lose. Of course, Northcote Park have put in some really good performances this year, so a win isn't beyond them, but there should be some great matchups all over the ground. You look at the midfield, you see the likes of the Cougars of Bronick Davies and Paul Scanlon coming up against Michael Farrelly, David Mitchell, Andrew Camusiano. So there's a few, or some more than a few great midfield battles, but also up in the forward line, we've got the big trio of Bundoora, of Moorcroft, Harrison and Cloak coming up against Saad down the other end, who's leading the goal kicking. It probably could be in for a pretty high scoring affair, I reckon.
Yeah, and Harrison obviously will be looking for a massive game this week after he's actually concussed from what we heard in the first quarter against Greensborough, so he'll be hopefully have his head on his shoulders this week and be ready for a big comeback. Well,
he was kept goalless, wasn't he? I think it's the first time he's been kept goalless all year. He actually has led the goal kicking table, I think, for the whole season. I think maybe Dean Lindback went up in 1 week, but he'll be looking to get back on the goals. And the next game on the agenda is down at DeWinton Park. It's McLeod up against Greensborough. Greensborough, as we just mentioned, had a great win in round 8 in their last start, and probably a good time to go into the bye. I think recharge the batteries after that. It was a pretty tough game, and they put a lot into it, and it was a fine victory they had. They're sitting second on the ladder going into that break, and it was 6-2. McLeod on the other side had a disappointing loss to Monty in round 8. They were up by 3 goals at quarter time, couldn't go on with the job, and were in the end soundly beaten. I think it was about 7 goals, but on their home paddock they're pretty hard to beat, and it really is a danger game for Greensborough. They'll go in as favourites, but on Monty's home paddock they're every chance to win this one.
Yeah, I think it should be a win for Greensborough, especially on their form recently. You can't really pick against them, but as we saw a couple of weeks ago, McLeod are really good at home. They really know how to use that to their advantage, so it won't be an easy game at all for Greensborough, and I wouldn't be surprised if McLeod got up and snatched a win, but you'd think it should be Greensborough's.
Well, they have beaten Northcote Park at home, as we mentioned. We also seen the NFL match of the day where they won by a point against Eltham, where they played 2 scintillating quarters of footy. They were probably down for 2 quarters, but definitely the best side on the day. So as you said, on their home paddock, they are a different side. Carl Core continues his fine form up in front of the big sticks, and he kicks him. I think he kicked 5 against Monty in the loss last week. So he's still going to be someone that have to stop. But on their home paddock, they have the ability to talk some quick goals. And Greensborough despite being 6-2, they haven't kicked some huge scores over the year. I think they've been able to really, they're pretty defensive, able to grind out their wins, despite probably having kicking 15 goals against Bandura, who are hard to score against. But I think they'd probably prefer if the game was probably held to maybe the winner kicking 13 or 12 goals. But as we've seen, McLeod on their home paddy can kick some high scores, so it'll be pretty interesting to see what kind of game unfolds there.
Yeah, and as you mentioned with Greensborough, obviously even when we speak to the coaches and the players, they do love that sort of defensive style of game. So if McLeod can get out and run like they do well at home, then it will really test Greensborough and they'll have to adapt to it.
It'll be interesting to see as well with whether Northern Bullhounds players can come back across this round, of course, because we've seen obviously Eamon Jenkins, we mentioned, was the Simmons Holmes player of the day in round 8, and he could be going back to the Bullhounds this week, so it is a big blow should Greensborough lose him, but it'll be interesting one to see that one there. And the next game on the agenda is Montmorency playing host to West Preston. West Preston, of course, the reigning premier last year. Monty finished second last year on the ladder and lost their 2 finals, unfortunately. And they're starting to become good again this year. I think they were 1-5 after 6 games, and now moved into 3-5. They've won their past 2, and they're playing some pretty good footy down at Para Road. They're at home again, and last week McLeod, from all reports, just didn't adapt to the conditions of the ground, and it's a different ground to play on. And I think despite West Preston being in some great form, they still have a few problems just adjusting to that ground, but they've been in some fantastic form, as I've said. I think they've won their past 4, and West Preston, for mine, is starting to become one of the really dangerous teams that could really push again for their second premiership, and somehow has slid under the radar so far this year.
Yeah, they've actually won 6 of the last 7, I think, West Preston, so in great form. So they were pretty disappointing against Bandura in the first round, but after that they've been really good. And even though they will have to adapt to conditions down at Monty's, because they've got such an experienced side, they should be a little bit quicker to do so than McLeod were last week, and will be a challenge for them. I think West Preston should get the win.
Well, as you said, 6 of the past 7, so it's hard to tip against them, and I'm going to stick by them. But I think if it's at West Preston, it'll be a definite. I think away from home, it gives Monty a far better chance. But Monty, should they lose today, or on Saturday rather, it'll be 3-6, and it's pretty tough to make the finals from there, you'd think, despite winning their past 2 games.
Yeah, especially when you think that at the moment 5th is probably going to be Heidelberg at the moment as well. So not exactly an easy out to catch up to in 5th. So
yeah, as we said, they have come back, so they've done well to even get back into finals contention. But at the moment, a loss this week could really, it definitely will hurt them. But it won't write their season off, but it makes it difficult to make the finals from there. And the final game of the round is the NFL match of the day. It's a pretty big clash as well. It's Whittlesea up against Eltham, both sides 3-5, and a lot riding on it. Both are desperate to be 4-5 after this game. And Whittlesea had a win going into the break rather. That was up against Northcote Park, as we earlier mentioned, and they hadn't won since the first break at Easter break. So it'd been, I think, 5 weeks between drinks for Whittlesea. But on their home paddock, they played some really good footy. They pushed West Preston all the way. Actually led all day and ended up running. I think it was 4-goal. With 4-goal loss, West Preston took the last 5, so they really held their own against a team who I really think will do quite well this year. And Eltham, on the other hand, have played some really good games. They've beaten West Preston. They've had 2 really impressive wins across their 3 wins. But on the weekend, a game where they could have beaten Heidelberg, and the first time break the drought. First time in 29 years, and they missed that opportunity, and it's going to be pretty tough to travel down to Whittlesea and come away with the win at the showgrounds. They'll give themselves every chance, and I think either way this game shouldn't be decided by any more than a kick or 2, I reckon.
Yeah, no, you think it'd be a really close game within that 10-20 point margin, especially when there's so much riding on it. When you think that fifth will be 5-4, you think after this week either probably Heidelberg, I think, as we said, but then to be 4-5, they're only a game off it, so going into the second half of the season, they really want to be within touching distance for you to have any chance of sneaking into the bottom of the finals this year. So a massive game this week, and I think, as you said, with Whittlesea at home, have been pretty good. They should just get past Eltham by about a kick, I think.
We're hearing reports that Eltham's doing their best to get Chris Pendlebury down for this game here, which would be a pretty big inclusion should he come in. I think, his inclusion would be massive, as I said, and probably squares the ledger either way. I think if he's not there, probably you favour Whittlesea. If he is, you give him a far better chance. But Andrew Fairchild, who you had a bit of a chat to on Friday, kicked 6-10 on the week before, so I'm pretty sure he's going to change kicking boots. I'm pretty sure he's done plenty of practice over the past 2 weeks to get those goals kicking straight again.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we remember too much of the chat from Friday night, unfortunately. But yeah, 6-10, obviously, he hasn't kicked straight, was fantastic, getting his hands on the ball and that sort of thing. When you're getting 16 scoring shots, it's an amazing effort. But you think if he had big Chris Pendlebury on him, it might be a bit of a different story.
It definitely makes life difficult. But 16 scoring shots against Northcote Park was a fantastic effort, and I think he had 5 goals in the last quarter as well. So when the game needed to be won, he was the one who won it for for the Eagles. But looking forward from here now, we're at just about the halfway mark. We're one round shy of it, but coming out of the Queen's birthday break, we've got obviously 5 teams inside the 5 who all consider themselves a genuine, definitely genuine finals contender, but also a really good chance for the premiership. We've got Alston, McLeod and Monty sitting outside, and Whittlesea actually sitting outside the 5, all with 3 wins, 1 game outside the 5. From here on in, can you see that 5 changing at all, or do you think the 5 sides at the moment will be the ones there after round 18 this year?
You'd think at the moment it'll probably stay pretty much the way it is at the moment, but the big danger for me is McLeod. I think they've been pretty good at times when you have someone like Core who's able to win a game sort of his own boot in close games. That can get you across the line. And round 17, so the second last round of the year, they play Heidelberg at home. So that could be that you'd think would be 5th and 6th at the time, which could be an absolutely massive game. So if they can get a win there, that could put them into 5th.
Yeah, for mine, I'm pretty like-minded, I think, as well. I think the 5 there are going to be hard to take out, just because I think the top 3 teams have been playing the best footy of any teams in the competition. I think Northcote Park on their day can beat anyone, as they've proven. They've had some, 2 massive wins against Greensboro and Heidelberg, where they kept them to both 1 goal to 3/4 time. So they're going to be hard to knock out. Then you've also got Heidelberg, who's won 4 of the past 5 premierships and been in the last 5 grand finals. So they're a pretty proud club, and they'll be hard to knock out. I think Altham's another one who, on their day, can play some really good footy, but it's probably about stretching it out now for the next 10 weeks and playing consistent footy rather than just a spectacular showing here and one there. But you look at the size, I think even Monty as well, more than capable of winning enough games to make it from here in. It's just going to be a matter of whether they can take their form and win games away from home as well. But also, I guess if the Fords are hard to get back into it, should they lose, say, the next 2 games, it makes it, that this mentally, it's pretty fatiguing. It's a long year, and to come back from there twice would be pretty difficult.
Yeah, you'd think they're sort of almost in must-win sort of territory every week for the next month or so. I think if they drop one of those, they just lose that extra ground they've gained back, which would almost be impossible to get back over the last 4 weeks it would be. But as you sort of touched on with Heidelberg, even if they finish 5th, no one would want to play Heidelberg the first round of the finals. They'll be a really tough out because they have, as you said, they've been so good for so long, and all their players know what it's like playing finals. They've proven that they can perform in the big games, so they'd be a very tough out in the first week of the finals. And
they've done it twice this year, backs to the wall. I think against McLeod, everyone gave McLeod a fair chance of beating the Tigers, and Tigers came away with a pretty comprehensive 4-goal win. They did it again against Altham 2 weeks ago, where I think, I know personally I tipped Altham, but Tigers led all day and were never going to be beaten. Whittlesea is the other one, I guess, on 3 wins. They're sitting 9th, which is pretty amazing considering they're 9th and they're only a game out of the top 5. But it's a fair effort just to be within finals distance at the moment, within reach. And on their home paddock, they really can win games. It's a matter, once again, of whether they can take that form away from home and whether they can continually get those boys who are playing at the Bull Answers that back into their team regularly enough, whether they can push for it. But at the moment, it's a fantastic effort. Their first season in the top flight, to be able, at the halfway mark, to be within reach of finals, it's a great effort.
Yeah, and it's, as you said, it's fantastic for them. You think that even after they got a couple of wins early, you think, okay, well, maybe it's a nice start, but then they'll probably sort of crash back down to earth a little bit, as you'd almost expect in their first year in Division 1. But then they've proven they, well and truly deserve to be in Division 1 and competing for the final, so it's fantastic by Wilson.
And now, as we said, the Doggies on the bottom of the ladder, winless, 3 games behind 9th place. So, are there any chance of winning a couple of games and staying up in the top flight, or they resign to the fact that they're going to be going down to Division 2, particularly with Whittlesea's win over Northcote Park in round 8?
It'll be pretty tough. I guess one thing you could say that they've sort of got nothing to lose, North Heidelberg. So you think they're not going to die wondering. They might as well just sort of run out and they'll attack every game as if it's a grand final, because if they drop any further behind than 3, I think if they were 4 games behind with 8 games to go, they probably wouldn't get there. So they should just attack every game like it's a grand final. Stranger things have happened, so that's it.
Well, should they be able to get Shane Harvey back, which they're desperate to get back, and of course Big Dave Florence as well, 2 key players. I know 2 players don't make a side, but it makes a hell of a lot of difference, and I think they'll be very confident of getting a couple of wins in the back run. But as you said, when they are 3 games down, every game pretty much becomes do or die really, and it'll be interesting to see whether they can bounce back from there. But at the moment, they're probably red hot favourites to go down to Division 2. Keep watching below as we'll preview round 9 action in Division 2 and also round 10 action in Division 3. So big couple of games for the weekend as well. We'll review those. We'll see you soon.